clicks, the weekly graph of clicks. I want to change this into a line graph because it takes out a lot of the noise. But you can see clearly the momentum to the bottom is in place on clicks. My stochastic, both lines are pointing downwards at the moment. Lower highs are visible all the way since that high was reached in October last year. The 40-week moving average is a strong resistance, waiting at 275. If I scroll back, we can see that this share really performed well. And we know from views that a lot of foreigners loved the clicks share at some stage, but we can clearly see that some profit taking has been taking place. Now, the strong resistance on clicks is waiting there at around 318 Rand 50. And that strong support that did not hold was waiting at 271 Rand 16. At the moment, the saying is, do not try to catch a falling knife. The momentum to the bottom is clearly in place. We should sit on our hands and wait for a turnaround candle or formation that can imply optimism. You and I can maybe not move this market. I don't know who you are, but assuming. But if there's many investors, especially the informed capital, the asset managers, when they start to accumulate a share, it starts to show on the chart. And that's where you and I want to start to accumulate as well, to ride the wave. At the moment, we can only see profit taking, and therefore we are going to sit on our hands. Hulamin also have been a favorite the last couple of years because of the volatility and the move. And if I change again this to a line graph, there's a couple of things we want to highlight here. One, my stochastic is in no man's land, not an ideal place to buy or sell a share. Very important, we can see that resistance around 336 is still a resistance and has not changed into a support yet. We can see lower highs, right? This high, that bounce, because the share bounced a little bit, is a little bit lower than this high, which is lower than this high. And that tells us that every time the share bounced, there was sellers who took profit earlier. That implies a little bit of nervousness and that they're not sure that the momentum will take this share a lot higher. Very important, it's fighting its 40-week moving average at the moment. It's sitting on 2 Rand 94. That 40-week moving average is represented by the red line. And we know, should that 40-week moving average change into a resistance, the long-term sentiment towards the share will change to negative. However, if there is enough buyers to protect that 40-week moving average and it remains a support, it can change, it will confirm optimism again. Now, I want to highlight this strong resistance here. And that is the critical level, 3 Rand 35 to be exact on the closing graph, that needs to change into a support, because then, ladies and gentlemen, I might be sitting here with a possible cup and handle formation. And I say possible because the optimism around this formation will only be confirmed once that neckline changes into a support. Once 336 starts to change into a support, and remember, theory tells us that it should do that on a Friday close above it, because these are weekly graphs, and then you should accumulate it on the Monday. However, sometimes we want to preempt it, so as soon as it comes close to the neckline, we buy anyway, depending on where the indicators or what the candles imply. All right, so this is a possibility, a cup and handle formation, and the lowest part of my handle, and at the moment it's still working on that handle, the lowest part of the handle will be the support that needs to remain in place in order to confirm the optimism around the formation. Once that low part of the handle starts to change into a resistance again, the optimism around the cup and handle will be off the table. There's a wait and see situation on Hulamin that we'll all have to wait for and be patient for, and to see whether this share can attract enough buyers to change and keep that 2 Rand 94 level a support. Currencies. The rand against the pound. One of the, first let's just highlight the strong support on the rand is waiting against the pound, is waiting at 23 Rand 71. And this is the high of April, that midweek of April 2020. Now we can see that for in the week of the 15th of May and the week of the 22nd of May, every time the currency pair came back, tested that level 23.71 and kept it as support. That highlights the importance of that support level. Yes, my 40-week moving average is far waiting at 21 Rand 51. What does that tell me? The weakening trend of the Rand against the pound is clearly in place. Now, some will say, first, sign of a little bit of strength in the Rand against the pound will be below 23 Rand 71. So if the Rand pulls back a little bit and starts to consolidate below 23.71, that will be my first sign of a little bit of strength or profit taking in the Rand. Now, what is the target to the top? So now what you do, because we're entering no man's land, these are record levels, what we can use is Fibonacci levels to highlight what is the possible next resistance based on percentages that the currency pair can go to, assuming the momentum will continue. So you take a recent high and a recent low, and then you try to see where can I find strong support and resistance. So I'm going to use that real body to see where the currency pair can go to. So my next strong resistance on the Fibonacci levels is waiting at 25 Rand 41, and then after that 26 Rand 93. I'm using fairly close levels, and that I wanted to use a strong support there at 23.71 as that 38.2% level. So that is a way that you can establish next levels of resistance when there is no previous history that has traded in that territory. So clearly weakening trend in place. We can see that first sign of strength will only be below 23.71 of the Rand against the pound. Canadian solar. Everybody is talking about solar panels, Canadian solar. And some investors wanted to say, listen, maybe we've already got solar panels, but we can invest in the company that manufacture them. Canadian Solar, listed on NASDAQ in the US, is caught in a symmetrical triangle. Now, a symmetrical triangle can either be a positive formation, should that upper band change into a support, which it's done. That level weighted at $42.19, it's changed it into a support. And that confirmed that this possible now can become a bullish flag formation, implying that the momentum to the top can continue. What is the target? We normally take the textbooks say you can take the tail of the formation. That's a bit greedy. We can take the midline of the formation, project it upwards, can take us to around $55.80 of where the share price can go to. Only when this lower band starts to change into a resistance will the optimism around this formation be off the table of the symmetrical triangle or flag formation, should you want to call it that. The 40-week moving average has changed into a support that is waiting at $37.62. Again, tells me that the long-term sentiment towards the share is positive. Unfortunately, my stochastic is in mid-zone at $58.60, not an ideal place. But if you want to chase momentum a little bit, there is a lot of room for upside still before the instrument will be in overbought territory. My strong support that needs to hold is $37.62, and as long as the share trades above last week's high, which is $42.40, we can assume that the momentum to the top is in place. Don't forget to please send through your requests via Twitter or email for next week's show. Have a fantastic week. Take care.